What's up, y'all? Good morning. It is Sunday and this is before church and it's pretty early, so I think I will get this up before service starts. So good morning. But if you're watching this in the evening, good evening. If you're watching this in the afternoon, good afternoon. If you're watching this before bed, good night. It's really random. And I promise you, like, nothing is even like bad happening. This is not no tea, no shade, but this literally was just in my spirit to share about discernment. So discernment is a lot, right? It is. And one thing about discernment, I'll say this. I don't know that you have experienced the highest level of your discernment if you have never experienced discerning something and wanting to be wrong about it at the same time. What happened to my light? We were good and the light went away. That's better. But yeah, and until you have experienced that, I don't know if you, because discernment is not based on necessarily your perception. It's about the truth. It's about what God is saying, what the Holy Spirit is saying to you. And sometimes he will know things that we don't know. And when, like I have to think back, like I always think back to this moment with Jesus. I have always, from the first time I really heard it, or I'll say read it myself, I'll put it that way, and really had a chance to hear it without the religious filter or the preconceived notions or the prepared messages of others, right? When I read it and I thought about it, I was like, yo, there's a moment with Jesus that people don't focus on. When Judas came to betray him, well, first of all, let's say this. Jesus wasn't surprised by what Judas did. Jesus knew his disciples when he chose them. If I'm remembering correctly, there was a point before the Last Supper, before the betrayal, when Jesus said he had chosen 12 disciples and one was a devil, because Judas's place in Jesus' story was necessary. Jesus being crucified was part of his story. Just like being resurrected, his triumphant return, like all of those things, were part of his story. And he knew he needed a Judas in his story, right? So it wasn't like he didn't know. And even when we get to the Last Supper, what we call the Last Supper, because, like, is it really the Last Supper? Because Jesus ate after he was resurrected. Like, he hung out with the disciples and had meals, even. I don't know. But anyway, at that Last Supper, when he said, one of you are going to betray me, I don't even think that was the moment he knew. I think he knew before that. But everybody was asking, and Jesus kind of like leaned over to, I believe it was John. I'm pretty sure it was John, because him and John was like this. And he said, the one who dips their bread in the cup with me, that's the person that's gonna betray me, which is wild, because for a minute I was like, if I knew somebody was gonna betray me, ain't no way they would be that close to me. But that's not even true. Now that I've experienced enough life, like, I have been in close fellowship with people. Now, I'm not gonna say friendship, because I don't got a lot of friends. I don't, there's a lot of people that I love, a lot of people that I care about. There are people that I hang out with. I'm friendly with virtually everybody. But I have been in close fellowship with people that I already knew. And I remember one time in particular, I was hanging out with this person. I mean, in very close proximity. You have no idea. And I just thought, I was like, I wonder how she gonna feel when she don't speak to me no more. And I'm not one that's like, I'm not this person that's like, cut people off. I think you should sometime, but I don't bother with that, because people tend to cut themselves off for me. Literally, I already knew in my spirit, it had already been confirmed. I already knew there was, like, this person I was hanging out with was temporary. And I was like, I wonder what this is going to be like for them when they stop speaking to me. Because I knew that's what was going to happen. But I didn't, go off like I thought Jesus should have. Like, how you going to eat with me like, you know what I'm saying? and it also even goes back to something I heard my pastor say long before he was my pastor. Y'all, I'm always going to thank God for my pastor, because that dude, Dr. Dale, has been a blessing to me for ages, and I'm so grateful for him. But anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, he said something that he heard somebody else say. A older person had told him one time that they were praying for discernment, and God told them, now, if I give you discernment, you still have to love people despite the dirty things you know about them. Which is, like, there's so much. Discernment is something else. I say that all the time. Discernment is something else, because there's so many dimensions and so many layers to it. So back to Jesus. So Jesus knew that Judas was going to betray him. Jesus knew one of his disciples was a devil. I think he knew who it was. At least by the Last Supper, we know that he put him out there. He was like, this is going to be the person that's going to betray me. And this is the thing. I seen this post going around some years ago. I haven't seen it lately because people really don't talk about the Bible that much anymore. But there was this post going around that was like, how did Jesus have 12 friends? It's hard to make it out of this life with 12 friends. And I was like, who wrote this? Because Jesus did not have 12 friends. He had 12 disciples, which are close followers at best. Like, he had 12 people that he was teaching and tutoring and that were working in ministry with him, but they weren't 12 friends. Jesus had 12 disciples, 3 that was like his inner circle of disciples. But to me, when it comes to actual friends, it was John. It was one, because John was there. John did all the stuff that disciples do. He was in the inner circle. Even he fell asleep on Jesus for a minute. You know what I'm saying? When Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane, but he was there. Transfiguration, everything, but all the way to not only the crucifixion, but he still was with Jesus' family. He was still taking care of Jesus' mother and everything. John was that dude, even for those 3 days that Jesus wasn't here on, and then when he came back, he was there at the grave site. Correct me if I'm wrong. John was that disciple that ran ahead, but he was definitely one of the disciples. I think he ran ahead. The day that Jesus was resurrected, he was coming to tend to the grave of his friend. That was his friend. I digress, because that does not have to do with what I'm talking about. I'm just saying it's important to know that, I think. Back to Judas. He knew who Judas was, all that. But it's something really interesting that happens that I never hear people talk about. When Judas came to betray Jesus, right? He came with the soldiers, and in that moment, Judas could have he was there, it was going down. The arrest was happening, and in that moment, Judas could have been he could have just pointed at him, He could have just said, "Hey, yo, that's him. That's Jesus right there." Because he was with a whole guard of soldiers, and it was going down. It was touchdown time, and he kissed Jesus, which is weird, right? It's already I'm not talking about weird, two men can't kiss. I didn't even talk about that, because people can be affectionate. I'm not even one of those people. Depending on the circumstances, I'm one of those people. But you know what I'm saying? It wasn't even that. It was the fact that Jesus himself, who knew Judas was a devil, who knew Judas was going to betray him, who knew he needed to go to the cross, didn't want to, but he knew it was going to happen. He had had all of that, like it was on him. He knew the whole story, but he seemed a bit taken aback by Judas's specific methodology in that moment. Basically meaning, out of all the things you could have done to betray me, to signal who I was, you could have threw a rock at me. You could have stayed behind the soldiers and just pointed. It wasn't like I was going to do anything in that moment. You kissed me? Like, the betrayal that you choose to use to hurt me is the intimacy? Like, I don't even remember Judas ever being that affectionate with Jesus at any point. But now, at the very moment of the betrayal, the intimacy, really? Like, Jesus was like, you betrayed me with a kiss? I think it was very specific when Jesus said that. Nobody ever talks about Jesus being, you betrayed me. This what we doing? And it's kind of like that sometimes when you have, again, I'm not saying that, some people say this, the closest people to you that hurt you, define the word close, because if you left me, you was never with me. If you betrayed me, you were never my friend. That's how I feel about it. People that come in and out of my life, with all due respect and with no lost love, I don't necessarily consider you a friend. Like, we cool. Like, I don't beef. Like, I don't have time for that. Like, I wish you well. I hope you heal, but I'm not beefing. But I'm just saying, like, consistency, your consistency tells me what I need to know. If you, like, because there are some friends, like one of my closest friends, we do not talk every day. But when we talk, it's almost like we talk every day. There are other friends that I might talk to a little more often. I really don't have anybody I just call every single day. But that's how some people are. But if you're the type of person that you come into my life and you calling me every day, every other day, hey, let's hang out, hey, let's do this, hey, let's do that, and then you just disappear, I ain't gonna say, that's an ingredient to discernment. I don't even think that's that deep. Like, you already understand. I don't know. But the main thing that I really, really wanted to express is something I've already said. And, I tend to repeat myself. And I guess that's one of the ways to make my point, is that discernment is on a different level. You've reached a different, mature, wise state in your discernment when you've experienced knowing something about somebody, about a situation, and hoping that it's not true. Not even necessarily because if God is telling you this, it's not like it's really going to hurt you to know, right? Meaning that, I don't mean it's not going to hurt you to know, but it's not going to, like, you can make educated decisions when you know, right? So it's actually beneficial for you to know the truth about a situation or a circumstance or a person. But, you can move a certain way. So it's not going to, like, diminish your destiny to know what this person is or is not. But you still be like, but no, not this person, not again, not, look, come on, God. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm tripping. Maybe I'm tripping about this. Like, nah. When you know. I am getting ready to go and edit this right now and then go to church. And if you haven't been to church, go to church. Tune in to my church. If you don't want to get up and go to a service, you don't want to pay no money, you don't want to get dressed, tune in to my church. I'm going to hit you with a link to my church's page. Go and enjoy those messages. And man, I hope you just have a great Sunday.